Akhil Gokul is the Senior Engagement Manager at Ericsson, and Akhil is here with us in Dallas at the TIA 2015 Network of the Future Conference. Akhil, welcome.
Thank you.
What type of services offers are we seeing in the cloud that are most relevant and innovative for service providers?
Okay. If you look at service providers, they're doing a couple of things with their network. One on the commercial cloud side and one on the telco network side. So in the commercial cloud, their main offerings today is still based a lot out of infrastructure as a service. But the unique thing that they're doing is they're bundling those services with their traditional secure VPN and secure WAN kind of services. What this does is their network access revenue and their cloud services revenue has a good tie-in. Besides this, they're also looking at providing niche services to select verticals, so like storage for government, some communication services in the healthcare domain, things of that nature. And finally, they're also trying to address not only the big enterprises, but also small and medium companies, right? Small and medium enterprises through solutions like backup or unified communication as a service. But when you talk about where innovation is going to happen, innovation is going to start with the mass adoption of smartphones. And this is going to have a huge demand on the service provider's network. So not just providing connectivity, now they'll have to start thinking about how you bring compute in. And when you bring compute in, then you get a lot of data. You get data locked in, and the new services will be based on monetizing this data.
Akhil, security is becoming a bigger threat, particularly as consumers and enterprises move their services and infrastructure into the cloud. How do you look at cloud security for the industry?
So security is kind of an interesting notion with regards to cloud. In the network society, when everything is connected, will be connected. And when that happens, data becomes your primary asset. So when you talk about cloud and security, you can as well think about data and how you're going to protect your data. And you can think of it in two ways. One is data residency, and the other one is data integrity. So data residency is all about the questions like, where does my data sit? Who gets access to it? Is my data being moved without my knowledge? So these are the concerns that come up to enterprises when they think about data residency. On the other side, you have data integrity. Traditionally, the security solutions that we look at, it's all about protecting your data. Nobody gets access to it. You make sure your network is contained. But now we got to start rethinking if that's enough. You got to probably complement with a new way of thinking where you are constantly verifying your data. Every asset is tagged, every asset is tracked, and then in real time it's validated. So I think in the new paradigm, security has to address both data residency and data integrity. That's going to be key.
Akhil, I think we can all agree that enterprises have realized the benefits of cloud computing. What are some of the primary opportunities for transitioning your network to software-centric platforms? For example, revenue-generating services like data management, app development, security as service, etc.
So when you look at why you need to transfer your network to a software-defined architecture or a software-based appliance model, you got to start questioning yourself what your service provider model in the future looks like. So if you look at end users of the network today, they're like people like you and me using some phones. In the future, that's going to change. That's going to be machines along with people. And what this will really do is it will come up with a different paradigm for traffic flow. So today, majority of the traffic is downstream, where we communicate with the cloud. In the future, it could be very much upstream, where a lot of information gets loaded to the cloud. And when this happens, you got to ask yourself, does your operator network still just provide services like voice and video, or will it have to evolve? And you can think of two use cases. One is data collection with all these devices out there, and then you need a control signaling to the devices out in the field, right? So when you look at this, your operator network becomes a data collection and control system. And to enable that, you have to start with software-defined architecture. And what that really does is it provides programmability, and programmability's true benefit is accessibility. And when you give this access to your enterprises, then you can do better app development, you can provide data management as a service, or even things like security as a service. And that's going to be crucial.
Now, despite wider market adoption of enterprise cloud computing, where are enterprises still hesitating when considering moving into the cloud?
So the IT leaders today are in a huge dilemma, right? They got to balance speed because everybody wants to deploy things faster. And at the same time, they got to think about how they can do or achieve the speed, but still balance their risk. So today we are in a world where almost all companies are software companies. They have some touch point to software development or use some kind of software. And when that happens, all roads kind of lead to IT, and they look up to IT leaders as to how can you solve this. So there is a lot of hesitancy in the market to move towards cloud because of the risk and security aspect. When you look at the workloads itself, it's a lot to do with non-mission critical applications that are pushed into cloud. But when you look at mission critical applications or business critical applications like ERP systems or ERP applications, those are predominantly still on-premise and not moved to the cloud. So for us to truly enable that migration, we have to start thinking about cloud from a security and governance point of view.
Akhil, where do you see the evolution of enterprise cloud computing 5 years from now?
5 years from now is going to be pretty interesting. So if you look at the near future, let's say about 2 years out, we see this trend of hybrid cloud coming. 2015 is supposed to be where it's going to really pick off, and we see that adoption happening with our enterprises. And one of the key things over here is providing policy so that you have workload, portability between, let's say, a public cloud to an on-premise cloud to an operator cloud. In the near future, let's say about 5 years' time, this might actually evolve to a distributed cloud model, where cloud computing is on demand and could be used as and when you need in different geographical locations. So when you look at distributed cloud, you can think about the application kind of moving in different places and being utilized on demand. What this really means is now enterprises can start focusing on their core business. So we got to start thinking like Airbnb and Uber, a hotel company with no hotels and a taxi company with no cars, right? So enterprises will start thinking of business in that way, where cloud will just be a utility model for IT.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you today.
Likewise.